What's up, YouTube? So yeah, I missed last Thursday's video. I really should have had something together, but I've been preoccupied with some personal stuff that I've been taking care of, and it's kind of set me off into a strange mood that happens every once in a while, and it's just some kind of thing that I got to take care of. It might be a hurdle that I have to jump and kick it in the head as I go by. So in this episode you might see Homebrew as a little bit more real, which is not necessarily a good thing. But ready to get back to the EJ257. Nerves are calm enough that I can delicately torque things in place. So basically where I want to start today is get all the rockers in, or the rockers, get all the lifters in, and get the camshafts in, get the top all torqued down, all the caps will be torqued in, and get the seals on, because I do have new seals, and then I can break out my new tool set that I bought in order to torque down the camshaft actuators back onto the camshafts, because I want them to be torqued at the proper setting, and that's why I bought the kit, so I could do it properly. So I'll do a quick unboxing of the actual tool set that I bought. These are the actual Company 23. These are the AVCS cam pulley or cam sprocket wrenches, I guess. What do they call these things? The AVCS inlet cam sprocket tool and the exhaust cam sprocket tool, obviously. So I also got the cam lock, because just regular WRX, that's a great tool to have, and something I probably should have had a while ago. Definitely makes it easier for taking that left-hand bank number 2, keeping the cams in place while you're removing and installing the belt. So let's open that one first. And really simple little tool. I mean, you could pretty much make one if you had to. But yeah, that'll go into the cams. It allows you to line it up with the cam pulley bolt, and then you can lock this all in place so that it doesn't actually move, and you lock it to the other camshaft. Of course, you'll get to see how it works. And foam noodles. So we'll do the intake cam sprocket tool next. The signature card again. And yeah, that's a pretty cool tool. I like it. So I'll show you how that goes onto that cam pulley to hold it. You can't use the regular cam sprocket wrenches because, well, I'm sure you might be able to, but they won't actually hold what's needed. They'll actually turn when you go to tighten them up. So these are the ones you want for AVCS cam pulleys. Go the exhaust, signature card. And this one a lot more straightforward, just the design of the tool and the actual cut is what you need. But yeah, that's the exhaust, the intake, and the cam holder. Too much money. Too much money. So get the proper tools to do the job, but I figure I might as well give you a little update with the block, because I've done a little bit more since last showed you. But anyway, I did get the other head on, basically the exact same way the first one went on. It was still, pretty snug actually getting it down. It dropped to about this point, and then I had to, just come around with the plastic mallet and kind of beat it on a little bit. The heads won't be easy to get back off, but the same procedure will loosen them up. I know it will. If the thing needs to come apart in the far future from now, because it's going to be good. We already had the water pump on, but I did get I got a new front seal. So while the oil pump was still off, I put the new crank seal in, and then there was also a little O-ring seal right on the inside of here. Actually, can I show it on this one? Yeah, this guy right here. So we got a new one of those put in behind the oil pump, and then we got a new oil cooler gasket, so the oil cooler's fully torqued on and the coolant hoses are hooked back up for it. The head studs. Now, I torqued them to 90 foot-pounds, and I even mentioned I was thinking of putting the centers up to 95. And I did some reading, and I came across this little tag on the side of the box, actually. And I went to IAG's website, and these head bolts go 2 steps higher. So the 1/2-inch head studs don't go to 90 final torque. Third step is 110 foot-pounds, and the final 4th step all around is 125 foot-pounds. So I mean, you're pretty much, you know, trying to hold the engine stand and pull on this thing to get it to 125. Now I'm at the point that I'm ready to. I've got my tools. I've got the cam seals. I'm ready to do the camshaft. So we'll set up for that next. So I'm ready to install the actual lifters. These are solid lifters. There's no actuation to them. There's no oil fill hole anywhere. So I still like to lubricate things, and what I'll need to start with is kind of go through the journals and make sure they're absolutely free of anything. Make sure they're nice and clean. And then I'll take my little oil squirt can like this. And I'll put a little bit on top of every valve, just to let it go down on top of things. And generally just a quick little shot on top of the journals. And I'll put a little dab on these ones too. And then because the lifter's been sitting in here, they do have just like a little bit of lint and stuff on them. So no problem, I'll just wipe them down. And this one being I for intake, and this pointing arrow in this direction, this lifter goes to the first valve. So that's how I have it ordered, and because it's like that and I've continued to do that, there's no way you can screw this up. You can see the actual measurement on the inside of 492, and this one being a 493. So they are different. The engine goes back together exactly the way that it came apart, and we haven't changed anything. There's no dimension changes anywhere in the valve train, so it should actually start up and run rather quiet. I've got the intake camshaft. I'm just going to give the journals a very quick wipe down. And the lobes as well. Everything is really clean. And you just want to make sure there's no heavy lint deposits, something like that. And that should be ready to set in. Now I want to make sure this is sitting nice and idle, so not pushing down on any valves. And I'm pretty sure it'll go something like this. And then once it's sitting in place, you can actually just kind of feel and it feels really nice. And the exhaust should be able to sit in there as well, even though the engine stand sits the engine on an angle. There isn't a hole to keep it up center, or either that or it's the other way around. I'm not quite sure. I have what I call a cam cap bridge, because it's essentially the caps, but a bridge of them all together. So I've applied some really thin silicone, just finger dabbed it all the way around where it needs to be. I've let it set for about 5 minutes, and so I'm ready to put this piece on, and we're just gonna sit it right in place. Actually has some little dowels to sit on. Just get that sitting in place like kind of like that, and just take a couple of the bolts and wind them in by hand. And then I've got the rear cam caps. And these guys, they actually indicate them. So this is the exhaust, and it points that way forward to the front of the engine. And this one's the intake. So these guys go just like this. Make sure the journals are clean. Get the other bolts here. And I'm just gonna lightly spin everything down by hand, just till it touches. And now we're ready to go through the torquing sequence. So the torque sequence for this is pretty elaborate. A lot of different bolts you got to do in a certain order here. So these larger bolts, they all get torqued at 14.8 foot-pounds, which converts up to 177 inch-pounds, or 177.6 inch-pounds. So I've got mine set at 178, and that's what I'm going to start with. These outer bolts are at 7.2 foot-pounds, or 86.4 inch-pounds. And you kind of, I think you're pretty sure you start here and then you go here, so you actually have to switch up your torque as you're going. So we'll start with A. And B. C. And D. These front ones. And we start with E. And be careful because it's very light. F. G. And H. And then these ones, believe it or not, are straight across. I. J. K. And L. And that's how you get almost halfway through the alphabet. So yeah, after everything's all torqued down, the camshaft should move rather freely. And now we're ready to put in cam seals in the front. I don't know if the camera can see in here, but we just got the faintest little bead of sealant coming out. It's a perfect amount. New cam seal, grease. Every seal I install always has grease on it. Not O-rings, but where there's moving parts on a seal, put a nice thin skim of grease all the way around to make sure that seal's gonna break in nice. These guys should be rather simple to get in. So all I'm using here is a 36mm axle socket, and it really shouldn't take a whole lot to get this seal to drive in. Just take this little punch just to kind of finish it up. And get the other one, a bit of grease on it. So now that the cam seals are installed, we can go ahead and actually put on the rear portion of this timing cover. It does need to go on before the sprockets, because if you don't, it won't end up on there and you'll have to take the sprockets back off and redo it. It's something easily forgotten, believe me, when you're just trying to whip together an engine. You've got the timing covers way over there and all your other parts are over here. So yeah, timing covers next. So here's this side's timing cover. I've given it a pretty good cleaning. I've got all the hardware back out, and it should just rest in here something like this. Yeah, and then 4 bolts to wind in on the cylinder head. And then one more down on the block down over here. So the torque for these bolts is pretty low. 3.7 foot-pounds converts to 44 inch-pounds. And you'll feel just by, I mean, I'm not even getting the 1/16 of a turn and it's clicking, so just torquing it by hand is tight enough. So it's actually the next day. It's the afternoon. I've already looked at another vehicle and kind of done another little video for another time. But I'm back to getting these cam sprockets installed. So these things are, even though I've kept them in order, know exactly where they needed to go, are really well indicated on here where they go. So this is the intake, right hand side. This is the right hand side. And this is the intake. So this guy is going to go on there, and as long as it's cleaned up on the inside, the seal basically rests on this area here. Make sure it's nice and clean, and that nothing's fallen down inside there. And you can basically see where the pin, let me get the light on here. So this is our centering pin, or a line-up pin, and it's got to go in that top center hole there in order for this thing to seat on there properly, and the oil galleries will all line up the way they're supposed to. I'm going to take the bolt out. And there, it took a little bit of maneuvering to get it right in there, but it is in there now. So we just put the bolt in, crank it in by hand. So we're ready to torque it up. The center bolt gets torqued to 22.1 foot-pounds. Now my foot-pound torque wrench won't actually go down to 22, so I've got to use the inch-pound wrench. So I'm going to torque it at 264. And then the second step is to turn it 45 degrees after that. So we will need to use the torque angle gauge to actually set the bolt at the proper torque. This is where the special tool comes in, and it's going to allow us to actually hold the cam actuator housing. So the tool will slide over top like this and allow me to hold everything while I grab the torque wrench and torque the center of it. And you can see that doesn't get tightened very far. Now with everything set the way it is, hopefully I can just turn this to the 45-degree angle by pulling these two bars together. There's 30, it's getting pretty tight. 40, and that's about 45 right there. That's surprisingly tight. But not that surprising because of how tight they are when they come off. So now the exhaust sprocket. I think we got it the first try. Yeah. The other tool, more the laser cut kind of piece, and it goes on like this. So you can see it fits perfectly over the actuator housing, and really, I mean, it's just a nice quality crafted tool to actually hold on to that. So we'll go for our 264 inch-pounds. Now for the 45-degree turn. Oh, that's about oh, that takes a lot to get that guy in there. Yeah, kind of hard to say what those final that final torque is, but it's got to be, I don't know, feels like I'm pulling about 60 or 70 pounds against itself. So the actuators are now installed, and can almost go ahead and close up the top. Nothing to really worry about up here anymore. The valve cover could be installed at this point. So Tyler's gone with these Denso Iridium Power spark plugs. I guess reasonably an OEM replacement plug. Definitely have like a platinum iridium tip on them. Actually a really nice looking plug. But I do want to at least see kind of what the gap is without disturbing it. Yeah, and these are nice and shallow. Probably 26 thou, 27. Spec calls for 28 to 31, but I think at that, what they're set at right now is absolutely perfect. The tuner may want to do something a little differently, but that will be up to them. Yeah, about 27 thou, perfect. So I'll just be dropping these in just like this. There's no reason they can't go in now. And the torque spec for spark plugs is 15.5 foot-pounds or 186 inch-pounds. I'm ready to install the valve cover next. Now they want some more RTV going along from this edge all the way across the front here. And so I've got some in my hand, and I'll just start finger painting it on there. You definitely want to extend it past this where these two pieces of metal seat. Because that'll be a very potential spot for oil to leak. And just you saw how much I started with, and that's pretty much what you need, and you get that much left over, so you don't need very much. Now I'll clean up and prepare the valve cover and seat the gaskets in it so that we can place it in there. So I have the valve cover reasonably cleaned up, the new gasket installed. These gaskets on this engine are very specific side for side. You can't use one side for the other side, so make sure that you have the right hand side when you're trying to install it, or you'll probably never get it on properly. With the silicone already kind of set a little bit and everything else very clean, we're ready to set this in place. And there's 1, 2, 3 short bolts up in the front, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or longer bolts in the back. So we're ready to torque down the cover. These bolts are all set at 4.7 foot-pounds, but I got to convert to inch-pounds again. I'm going to 57 inch-pounds, and looking at the sequence, it almost kind of, you do a second pass just to double-check torque. But we start with A over here. And then B. C is this top center one. D, bottom center. E, the top corner. F is the bottom corner. G is the other opposing bottom corner. H is this top right corner. And now we go kind of for a double check, so we go back to A, which is now I, J, K, and L. We got a little extra one out of that one. So at this point, this cylinder head is pretty much fully installed. So I've made some half decent progress. Definitely have one side completely together. I'll basically do the same on the other side off camera again. Starting to get my bench cleared of all the parts, and definitely making headway on the things that need to be done so that I can get this thing back into the car. So yeah, even though I've been had to wait on a couple of little parts, just seals and gaskets and whatnot, we finally started to get it together, and I've been able to rearrange some of my time so that I can at least continue progress on it. So as soon as the other side's together, we're kind of ready to push on to the timing. But I really want to replace one of those timing idlers. I thought I might have one here, but for some reason I don't. I've got the other ones, but I don't have the smooth pulley that at the bottom. This pulley here, that little idler loves to fail, and when I spin it by hand, I don't like the sound of it. I don't think it's worth putting back on. And instead of replacing an entire kit, just to keep things on budget. We're going to do a couple things instead of everything, and maybe later on he'll just do a complete kit down the road. Thursday's video may not actually be a continuation of the STi build. I'm waiting on something, so in the meantime I'm probably going to work on the left hand head, get it all together, do it off camera, and I might end up posting something else on for next Thursday, and then probably continue on next Sunday, where I will hopefully jump on the timing, get the timing all done, and then we'll start going maybe through the intake manifold and the turbo, and just to make sure everything's flowing well and I don't need any more parts. But yeah, I keep on seeing that subscriber counter climbing, and that's what keeps me doing this. As long as people are watching my stuff and getting something out of it, that's what I need. So yeah, thanks to all the new people that are finding the channel, and the current subscribers that are sharing out to their friends and family that they might be interested in watching the videos as well. So if you like this video, definitely give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please consider hitting that subscribe button for me. Leave your questions and comments further down below, and I'll see you in the next one.